look at all of the hot topics in HR.
Whether it's passive talent or it's active talent.
That's a soft skill that really gets undersold in the hiring process.
How to manage in the virtual environment.
You get a diverse, cultured group of people. It's a win-win for everybody.
More conversion from candidate leads.
What does that look like in this new virtual world?
Welcome everyone to Talent Experience Live. Today, I am joined by my co-host, Ernie. So in case you hear him bark or anything like that, I promise you he is in good arms and being safe, but I'm going to put him to the side now. He does a lot of the camera work on the back end. Happy Earth Day to everyone. Remember to do your part, perhaps plant a tree, recycle, or just make the earth a better place than when we got it. One way that you can potentially do that is by downloading the State of Candidate Experience and save it on your computer. No need to print it out. No need to destroy the trees. Just save it to your computer. And we do have a great promo video for the State of Candidate Experience. So without me talking about it till your ears fall off, let's just air the quick clip. Shout out to the video team at Phenom for putting together such a great promo video. I'm talking to you, Shane and Justin. I promise you, Ernie, our cameraman here on set for the Talent Experience Live show, was not behind that. But nonetheless, the state of the state of CX analyzed the candidate experiences for the Fortune 500 in three key areas: attraction, engagement, and conversion, and how all of that combines towards the overall talent experience. So definitely download that version. And remember, no need to print it out. Save the trees. But it is Thursday, noon Eastern time, and you know what that means. It's not time to talk about Ernie or talk about State of CX. It is time for Talent Experience Live. And I am Devin Foster. I'm your host. This is your weekly look at the hot topics in HR, interviews with leaders in the industry, as well as hot new HR tech. Today, we are talking HR tech, so definitely get excited. But while you're here, feel free to hop into the chat. I saw Tom Tate already said he is excited for this episode. Welcome, Tom. I know Chris from Ohio is joining us, as well as Robbie from North Carolina. So if you are joining us from any other places, or even those two places, feel free to drop that in the chat and let us know where you are joining from. But while you're there, don't forget to share this to your network. Sharing is caring. Like and subscribe to everything Phenom has to offer. You don't want to miss out on our next benchmark report or anything like that in between. And if you aren't able to catch the full episode today because you have to go make avocado toast or somebody double booked your calendar, you can always catch the full episodes of the Talent Experience Live show on YouTube or on our Phenom blog. We do a nice little recap there with the full episode, as well as quick digestible clips so that you can watch it at your own leisure. And if you're interested or have any more questions, you can always email us at txl@phenompeople.com. Looks like a couple other people are chiming in where they're joining us from. Jen is joining us from Pennsylvania, as well as Ashley is joining us from North Carolina. Jen loves the avocado toast as well. It's a healthy snack. It combines good fats, so it's something that I love to consume as well. Today's topic is a fun one. A couple weeks back, I posted out a poll on LinkedIn, which is, are cover letters gone? Have they gone the way of the dodo, to use a cheesy expression? And is video really the thing that has killed it? So today we are going to talk about how video has permanently changed the way that we connect with talent, especially the recruiting process. We've seen in-person interviews switched to digital video calls and offer letters become offer videos. But now we ask, what is happening to the traditional cover letter? I know when I was going through application processes early on in my career, it was something that I absolutely dreaded because my personality is something that I can display in conversations, but I really have trouble putting that pen to paper, and also my spelling and grammar is awful. So really, what has video done, and how are companies leveraging video to showcase candidates and to see them? So we have a special guest joining us today, but before we jump into that, it is tradition around these parts to always have a nice little icebreaker question. And this one has to do a little bit with video, but it's a little bit fun as well. The question is, how many days have you worn sweatpants and business professional attire on top of your wardrobe over the past year? I know there have been loads of jokes on it and commercials and things like that. I'm wearing sweatpants right now, and I've pretty much worn sweatpants the entire quarantine time. But I've definitely done the business professional top at least 6 or 7 times. Don't tell my bosses or any of my colleagues. I see Angela chimes in. She says she's been wearing sweatpants 100% of the time. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. It's important to stay comfortable, especially if you're just being viewed from the top. Mary says she's worn sweatpants 0% of the time. And Jen says she can't count, as well as Ashley. So I love the interaction with the icebreaker question. Keep it up as we bring on our very special guest, Sebastian, who is head of video here at Phenom. Sebastian, I apologize. I have no idea how to pronounce your last name, so I'm not even going to take a stab at it. But he is a former CEO and co-founder of a company based out of Germany called Talent Cube, and he is going to talk to us about if video truly did kill the cover letter. Let's bring on Sebastian. Sebastian, how are you?
Hi, Devin. Thanks. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. I apologize for the unprofessional intro that I had there. For the people listening at home, how do we pronounce your last name?
It's pronounced Niewöhner.
Niewöhner.
I guess the O with the dots is a tricky thing, yeah.
It is, but it's fun. It looks like like an emoji, like the surprised face, which I always enjoy using when I'm texting. So Niewöhner. Anyway, Sebastian, it is tradition around these parts that no one gets out of the icebreaker question without answering it. So I have to ask you: are you guilty of wearing sweatpants 100% of the time, like Angela has, and me as well?
Yeah. I actually don't like sweatpants, but I'm always wearing basketball shorts and long socks. But I guess that counts too.
That does count. I'm a fan of basketball shorts as well, so that is awesome. Sebastian, when I first introduced you there, I mentioned that you are the co-founder of a company called Talent Cube. Can you tell the people at home a little bit about what Talent Cube does, and what was your motivation for creating technology that is quite possibly changing talent acquisition?
Yeah, sure. So Talent Cube was the leading video recruiting solution in Europe before it got acquired now by Phenom. So now we brought that awesome solution to the Phenom TXM. And I think it was 6 years ago, we already discovered the issues of the recruiting process and the application process, and found it very impersonal. And that's why we kind of invented, or were quite innovative here back in Germany and in Europe, and introduced the video application, the video interview to the European market. And within the last 6 years, I guess, a lot of stuff has changed. Video has become far more important and more accepted in the HR industry. And that's how we establish ourselves as the leading solution here in Europe.
That makes sense. I mean, human resources or HR has that human element into it, right? That interaction back and forth. And to solely communicate via email, text, Slack, whatever it may be, kind of takes that element out of it. I can't tell you how many times I overanalyze text messages from my mom thinking, she must really be mad at me or something, based upon this, my girlfriend as well. But that's solely based on me. Video kind of takes that element away. And while we're working, in this remote world, a lot of organizations and really everyone in general has adopted the use of video to accommodate some of these traditionally in-person events, whether it be events themselves, whether it be interviews. And our CEO, Mahi Barietti, frequently talks about how video is now essential to human resources as well. Why do you think it is so essential, even as parts of the world are beginning to get out of this quarantine space and back to in-person events and meetings?
Yeah, I think, well, video, especially due to Corona, became far more important than probably like 2 years ago or 1 year ago. And it just adds another layer of personality. So if you look at a cover letter and what you just mentioned, that you overthink your text, even to your mom, and that's the same stuff that happens to a cover letter. So if you apply and you write a cover letter, you share it with your family, you share it with your friends, and there are even companies that help you creating a cover letter and charge you probably $100 for that. And with the video, it just gets far more personal. The recruiter on the other side, they also see the person behind it. There's no possibility to fake it, and the impression that you would normally get as part of an on-site interview, that's what you immediately get when someone applies via video. And that's also a big benefit for the candidate, because you are not like one of 100 documents that are just on the table or in the email mailbox. But you are the person you really am, and you can like really shine with motivation, with qualification, and your personal fit with the company.
No, that makes sense. And obviously when we title the episode "Video Killed the Cover Letter," there's a bit of sarcasm there, right? It's not that serious. But video has certainly found a home within human resources. However, it's not necessarily a replace-all or a catch-all for the cover letter. I'm sure that there are certain positions that still kind of require that, and I know that based upon the poll that I put on LinkedIn. Some people were very passionate about cover letters. What are some good examples of potential roles where a video cover letter or a video application would be best suited, and perhaps some where cover letters still are near and dear to the heart and the role of the position somebody's applying for?
Yeah, totally right. So I guess the video application doesn't fit all application processes. So if you look at a very technical job, engineering position and developer position, the video doesn't convey a lot of information. Or if you apply at a hospital as a doctor, for example, or as a lawyer at a law firm, these are positions where text-based application really doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's more a structured way to submit an application. On the other side, there are so many positions where the personality is really important. A sales position, marketing position, everything where the communication is key, the team fit is key, and the culture plays a very big role. And in these kind of job roles, applying via video just gives both parties, the candidates as well as the recruiter, so much more information to really be fast in the process and to get a good understanding of each other, that it's really helpful for a lot of positions, not for everyone, not for all the positions, but definitely for a majority of them.
I think that makes sense, especially as we see the world adopt video at such a high space, right, or a high rate, I should say. When we're looking at sales professionals who typically would potentially fly out to a location to meet a customer or client, and how they're not doing that, they're oftentimes going to be having video conversations. So to see how somebody interacts via those is super important. Now, with that being said, obviously, not all companies are going to adopt it as fast as others. But my question is, do you think organizations should require it or make it optional? And I think this ties in a little bit with Andrea's comment here. What if the person is not photogenic, right? They're not necessarily comfortable in front of the camera. And does that exclude candidates if it is required?
No. So I think very important when we're talking about video application, it's not about being photogenic or being like a good salesperson in front of the camera. And there's two different ways of seeing a video application. There's probably the one that is most common, and that you just record a video of yourself and you upload it as part of the application form. And there it's really okay. You as a candidate, you have a lot of possibilities to improve and to optimize and to create like a perfect image video of yourself. That's the one side. And the other side, and that's also the product that we focused on, is giving candidates a couple of questions that they can answer as part of the process. So when for example, applying as for a sales position, and there's the question, how would you sell a glass of water, and you have 45 seconds to really answer that question. It's not about being photogenic and like doing and looking good in front of the camera. It's really like, what do you do out of these 45 seconds, and how do you really like pitch yourself, present yourself in comparison to the other 10 candidates that answer these questions. And that's kind of a different process, like a different approach of like applying via video. One is creating these like super nice image videos, and then I'm totally on your side. They're a person who is with a good camera set and probably some skills have an advantage. But if you really give every candidate the same foundation and the same process, it's really not about the look and the feel, but really about what does the candidate really say when answering these questions. And this adds a lot of makes it easy to compare candidates, actually.
It makes sense. And I think of traditional applications, right, where you upload a resume or interview. And I think back to my college and post-education experience, where there are resume writing classes, there are interview classes and tips on how to really improve and give yourself the best options for success. I can imagine the same thing would happen with video, right, where people are beginning to, I saw Ashley Miles jumps into the chat and said that she did some interview questions on an online platform, and it allowed her to click and record each answer. And she said it was very impersonal. And I think my question for you is, if there is that format where companies are providing a set of questions for candidates to answer, is there a way for candidates to kind of make themselves stand out? You know, is there an expression? Should they read through their questions a couple times to make sure their pronunciation and enunciation is correct? In the same way where you would read through a cover letter and check for spelling mistakes or grammatical errors. Is that kind of an option for candidates as well?
Yeah. This kind of really depends on the process and the product. Normally, what we always suggest that a company really gives candidates also the possibility to re-record a question if someone is really unhappy. And something that also helps, and what we implemented in the product very, very early, was kind of a practice session where candidates get up to 20, 30 different questions to really get used to the process, and having getting familiar of how to hold the camera, how to pronounce them, like how to speak in front of the camera, and all these topics. And I think that the topic regarding recording an on-demand video interview is impersonal. It really depends on, again, on how the company implements this. So what we also recommend to all the companies that use our product is, you as a recruiter, you have to present yourself in a video first. And if you actually get the question presented in a video from the recruiter, and you answer that question, again, by also just recording yourself, it's not as impersonal as if you just read a text, you record yourself, and then you submit it. So this communication on eye level is really important to also give a candidate the feeling, hey, this is kind of a very great experience, and I never want to write a cover letter again, because I always want to have this application experience. And that's kind of something where the company really has to step in and do the first step.
That makes sense. And one thing that jumps out to my mind is I remember when I was a recruiter in a past life, sometimes candidates would come in and they would have something stuck in their teeth or perhaps some toothpaste. And, you obviously do the right thing and be a nice person and say, hey, you have a little something stuck in your teeth, or you have something on your beard. But immediately the candidate gets embarrassed, right? And they almost feel like they are at a disadvantage, right? And that's human nature. But when you have the opportunity to potentially see a recruiter ask a question where they say, hey, what core value do you live up to best? Have fun with it. And they're wearing a wig or, doing something a little bit goofy. That gives them the opportunity to be personal and showcase their personality, as well as if they have something in their teeth, they can see that with the camera as well. For those of you just joining us, we are on with Sebastian, head of video here at Phenom. We're talking all things video application, as well as if it did potentially kill the cover letter, which we covered, it did not. Sebastian,
not
one
yet.
thing that no, not yet. Shout out to all the writers out there who still love cover letters. I know Jen, I'm sure, is still a big fan of them. But when oftentimes we talk about video, another thing that always comes up in the conversation is bias, right? And I kind of mentioned some bias that may be in cover letters before, whether it be grammatical errors, formatting errors, or even potentially spelling errors if spell check didn't catch it. Maybe it's a language thing or something along those lines. But does bias come into the video process there, since you can actually see an individual? And is that something that should be addressed, or is it very similar to a Zoom interview or an in-person interview where that bias will come into play as well?
That's definitely a question that comes up kind of in every sales discussion. And I think the video interview kind of reduces the bias because of two reasons. So first of all, you give every candidate the same opportunity and the same chance, because every 20 candidates, all of the 20 candidates have to answer the same, let's say, 4 different questions. And it's easy to compare them after the submission. And with the on-demand video interview, you kind of simulate the first 5 to 10 minutes of a real on-site interview. So you actually get to see the candidate, and you actually get to perceive the candidate as they would sit next to you and have the introduction. And normally that's what we figured out when we actually started Talent Cube 5 years ago. 50% of all job interviews are a big waste of time, because you invite someone in the first 2 minutes, you know, okay, this is a waste of time. This person will never be get hired. And with these very impression from the very beginning, it's first of all easier to really select the good candidate from the very early in the stage. And I think another very big topic which reduces the bias, the video interviews can be reviewed by multiple recruiters and hiring managers. So if there's one person who doesn't like the video interview, or who doesn't like the CV, which is probably mostly read by one person, the person is out of the process. But at our companies and our customers, multiple recruiters actually review the videos. All of them give a rating, and then you can decide on the average decision of all the recruiters whether someone advanced to the next round or is rejected. And this kind of is these are the 3 different reasons why the on-demand video assessment actually reduces the bias in the recruiting process and gives candidates really an objective assessment to advance to the next round.
It makes sense. And I think the other thing that pops into my head is I had a conversation a couple weeks back with Cliff Jerkowicz of Phenom around DE&I. And one thing that he mentioned is a lot of companies or organizations struggle with DE&I because they don't give the right candidates the opportunity. And that may be because their resume simply doesn't have the skill set, right, that they're looking for. And it's tough to showcase some of your experiences or even your passion for a particular role or a particular industry to say, hey, this is something that I really want to get involved in. This is something that I've always dreamt of doing. You can't put that you loved being creative in elementary school and high school and want a marketing job even though you have a sales background. That's not something that you can put on a resume, but it potentially could be something that you could answer a question that is prompted by a recruiter and really showcase that and say, hey, I have a drive, I have a passion here. And I saw Prasanna Kumar chimes in and says that they believe self-recruiting introduction videos can really increase the confidence level of candidates. And I think that's something that we can all relate to. Those initial interviews it's human nature to get nervous, right? To perhaps sweat a little bit. I'm very guilty of it. Sweat drips down my back but when I'm in the interview process. But having that opportunity to maybe re-say something or say it again, or really put the right emphasis on what you're passionate about may potentially be a great opportunity for them to get the confidence that they need in order to be successful in the interviews. Speaking of questions, Sebastian, that could be asked, how can recruiters prompt candidates with the right questions? Is there potentially an internal rollout system that you've seen successful for video applications where it's, hey, we're hiring for this particular position. Are they asking hiring managers, what should we ask? What is important to you? What certain skill sets are you looking for? What does that look like when it comes to deciding questions for candidates?
Yeah, so it's definitely a very important aspect. And depending on the job category, whether it's a sales position or a marketing position, also the questions have to be different. And what we always recommend is to have on average to ask 3 questions, because this actually gives you enough information to figure out if this person can advance to the next round. Asking one personal question, one question regarding the motivation, and one question regarding the qualification. And with this set of questions, you get a very holistic understanding of who you're talking to, kind of, and which person applied here. And especially with the motivation question, it's easy to really figure out, does this person really want to work in our company? So there's one example, and a company, like a previous customer of us, shared this video with us, which was Coca-Cola. And there was a candidate who in the background had like 50, 60 different Coca-Cola bottles. And this really shows, okay, I am highly motivated to work for this company. And this is something you could never like attach to a CV, to a cover letter. And also, I guess especially the motivational aspect in the video application helps candidates to stand out. And even if you're not a perfect fit from the skill set, or you have a bad grade in your high school grades. In most cases, this is like the number one reason why someone is directly cut out of the process. But having these videos next to the resume and to the CV really gives you another dimension to figure out, should we give this person a chance, even though he might have a bad grade in math or in physics?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, you certainly can't, turn your CV or your cover letter into a Coca-Cola advertisement, right? When you're applying for a job at Coca-Cola. And I think the same thing can be said for potentially, organizations that are involved in pet care or really anything in between. I showcased Ernie at the top of the show. That's not something that I could, put on a cover letter if I was applying for PetSmart or something along those lines. So it gives you that opportunity to have some fun and showcase what you truly are passionate about. Now, Sebastian, we talked a lot about what is available now in video applications and things like that. What do you think is in the future for video when it comes to recruitment? What are companies adopting aside from just interviews and these kind of replacement of the cover letters?
Yeah, I think it has multiple dimensions. So when we talk about the candidate experience, I think we are now talking about video application or video interview. And what we also see on what we saw previously at HellingCube is whenever the company really makes the first step and introduces themselves in a video, it really increases the conversion rate of the video application and the video interviews. And I guess that's for the candidates a very, very big aspect, to have authentic videos and authentic impressions on the career page, on the job page. And that is something I guess we will also work on heavily to really have the next level job the next level job description in kind of a video format, to give a behind the scenes look and to really stand out as a company, and to directly like the very first moment someone comes on the job page or on the career page, get that very personal impression. And I guess that's what's definitely coming in the next couple of months and years. You will see that more and more often on global career sites. But I think even after the application was submitted and within the application process itself, the communication via video between the recruiter and the candidate, so video offers, for example, or video rejections. So even though if you reject a candidate, that doesn't have to mean that this candidate is not convinced of you as a company and as a recruiter. So having, even in case that the candidate is rejected, giving them like really a personal message will also probably help to spread the word that you are actually a very great employee and other candidates might apply. And then it also continues after the candidate is hired. So how do we communicate internally within our teams? So there's a lot of opportunities to share testimonials, to create video intros for team sessions and all that stuff. And I guess video will be a very, very big part throughout the complete HR process in the next couple of years.
It's interesting that you bring up potentially an individual not getting a job, right, and sending out a video there, because that's not something that we typically associate with video, right? We think of happy moments, right? You got the job, you got this, but I've heard so many stories in the past of where somebody goes through 6, 7, 8 steps in a process and then they fall short, and they're kind of just sent out an email that feels like it was copy and pasted, even if it may not have been. It's very unpersonal, right, in that sense. And for a recruiter to take the time out of their day to say, hey, we loved you as a candidate. We can't wait till we find the right opportunity for you. Unfortunately, this just wasn't it. It will mean something, right? It leaves a good impact on the brand. And hopefully, it turns that candidate into a consumer of your company and maybe an employee at some point down the line. So that's a super interesting aspect that you bring up there. I just want to call out a couple of these comments that are jumping through here. Ashley chimes in with a question and said, what is the best way for an employee or a candidate to stand out to an employer in today's job market? Any suggestions there?
Well, I think it's definitely to be unique and to not do the same stuff that everybody is doing today. And I think even if the company does not offer a video application yet, just sending one is probably an easy way to just send out and to have a very good chance to get invited to the video interview. So back at TalentCube, we also offered a product called Application Homepage, which allowed candidates to apply at any company in the world and for any job in the world via video by just creating their own unique kind of website that included a set of questions, all the CV information, documents. And there was one use case that one candidate, she sent out 7 of these application homepages and got invited to 6 interviews within a week. And I guess it's one of these examples where when you don't act as the other 100 candidates that are on the table or in the ATS, and really try to create something that really jumps out and really creates kind of a wow moment for the recruiter. That is something that will definitely be a big benefit in the recruiting process or in the hiring process for this candidate.
Yeah, that's fun. It doesn't have to be a video. I guess there's so many different ways to create something unique. Certainly. I mean, I've heard examples of reaching out to people on LinkedIn who are at the company and maybe in a specific department, and maybe you send them a video or something. I don't know if that's in your comfort zone, but reaching out to them, asking how you can stand out and maybe being a step different than just filling out the application. Because as Mary mentioned, anything is better than that black hole, and you do want to try and connect with them. Sebastian, it's funny. I was just thinking how cool it would be if organizations, perhaps in these video interview processes, asked who their favorite movie star was or who their favorite athlete was or whatever it was, and then hopping on Cameo and potentially getting Matt Damon or Ben Affleck to send out an offer letter. I don't know if that's something that is within budgets for organizations, but it's certainly something that I would love to see Phenom do. I may reapply for my job right now in hopes to get that to happen. Hopefully I would get accepted. But awesome. Sebastian, I really appreciate your time. I want to be conscious of everything that you have going on and the innovation that you continue to provide the HR world. But any final thoughts, anything that you'd like to share before we let you go today?
Well, I think especially to the ones watching now, and I guess most of you will at some point be exposed to a video interview or video application. Don't be afraid. It's actually a lot of fun. Take the challenge and just be yourself in doing it. And I guess this will be a big step forward to getting you the job. Awesome. Sebastian, thank you so much. I know it is after hours for you there in Germany, so feel free, go grab a beer, a Wiener Schnitzel, whatever it may be, and hopefully we get you on again soon, and maybe you'll get to come in studio when we're back in studio and we can record this there with you as well about all the new innovations that have come up. But thank you so much and can't wait to chat soon. Perfect. Thank you, Devin. Bye. Yeah, bye. There you have it. That was Sebastian, head of video here at Phenom, talking about how video hasn't quite killed the cover letter yet, but
it's certainly beginning to replace it. Before we go, I do want to, once again, shout out Earth Day. Do your part, recycle, record a video instead of printing out your resume maybe. And also, I wanted to call some attention on our episode last week, which was Connecting with Care, how employers can better support working parents. We had an individual, name escapes me at the moment, but from KinderCare, talking about what they are doing to help working parents right now in the promotion that they are running in the month of April, where if a parent is looking for a job or interviewing and they need some childcare for that day, they can go fill out a form and drop them off at childcare. This is a clip from Derek Murphy Johnson with that talking all about how you can meet employees where they are. So let's hear the clip.
It's not something that corporate communications writes an amazing essay to win the award. This is really based on the employee's feedback of, does my manager care about me? Do I have the opportunity for learning and development? So this award is specifically for our employees, and we've met our employees this year. Like I said, we've always been a people first organization, but this year we doubled down. And when we saw the racial unrest that was happening earlier this spring, as an organization, we had the obligation to support our employees that were going through this. And so we created a People of Color Caucus, and we made an intentional statement saying we support our employees of color. And recently, with the unnecessary Asian hate that's been going on across the country, we've came out and supporting our Asian and Pacific Islander employees. And again, made that statement public and holding ourselves accountable, as well as supporting our employees. We've also created a lot of free resources for the general public on our KinderCare site around those initiatives of how to talk to your children about race, how to talk to your children about the pandemic, things of that nature of really supporting the employees where they're at.
There you have it. That was Derek Murphy Johnson talking about how they are supporting employees. Ashley, I saw the comment come through about where you can find the application homepage that Sebastian mentioned. I will chat with him after this call and either shoot you a note on LinkedIn, or you're always more than welcome to email us at txl@phenompeople.com, and we will get back to you very shortly. In the meantime, I did want to promote the State of CX 2021 benchmarks report one last time. It's fresh off the presses, digitally, of course, because it is Earth Day. So we'll air the clip one more time, and then I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their Thursday. See you next week.